the best horror game. The best horror game ever. It's kind of a hard choice. There's a lot of really good horror games out there. But I decided to go in a different direction and pick not an exclusively horror game. And my pick is Fallout 3. There's nothing scarier than looking through an abandoned old falling apart building, turning a quarter, and there's a super mutant right there. That's terrifying. A lot of times you run into enemies and you don't even expect them to be there. You don't hear anything, you don't see anything, and then they're just there. Terrifying. And if I had to choose a second, it would be Minecraft. Same thing. You're in the mines, and you got a pocket full of diamonds, and you hear that hissing behind you of a creeper. That shit'll make your heart stop.
Hey Ben Richey, it's JD Mulletman here. Okay, now for my all-time scariest game. Wow, okay. As soon as you say that, well, as soon as you ask that, first game that comes to mind for me has got to be, by all means, Clock Tower for the PlayStation. Now, my reasons for that has actually got to be, when I first played Clock Tower, it was the first game that I actually come across that actually was survival horror. It wasn't a case of you're fighting the creature, you got weapons or anything like that. You're literally having to survive just by hiding. And when Scissor Man basically comes about, well, not just Scissor Man, but other obstacles, but mainly Scissor Man came about, you had to run, and he would keep chasing you from screen to screen to screen. You had to find somewhere to hide. Also, it was the first game I played that actually had a multiple ending situation, also a secret ending situation, which I wasn't actually aware about when I first played it. The atmosphere it absolutely builds just with the sound effects alone. When you're walking from room to room and different things that's happening, the interaction, it really is spine chilling. When you heard that sound of the Scissor Man with his giant shears, of just hearing them as he's coming after you, and it just really built such a severe atmosphere. It's one of those games where you didn't want to play in the dark, but you did anyway, and you didn't want to play on your own, but you did anyway. So, yep, for me, it's definitely... I mean, I played the other Clock Tower games, and it kind of started losing its edge a bit as it went along. Not taking anything from it. Very good games, highly recommended. But the first one will always be the most scariest and scariest for me. So, scariest game, Clock Tower. That came out in 1995 for the PlayStation. Cheers, buddy.
In my opinion, the scariest game is Doom 3. There's spooky corridors, quite a few jump scares in the first half hour of the game. Turn a corner and then one of the imp demons punches through a door. You see people get dragged through vents and creatures come out of the vents. Later in the game, there's a lot of dark areas you have to navigate. And in that game, you had either the choice, you carry your flashlight or you do your pistol or your weapon. So, people used to complain about that, but that is totally a great element of the game. you know, either you keep the flashlight and see the monster, but as soon as you see the monster can attack you, and you're pretty much screwed. So it's either wander through the dark and hopefully you find your way out and you won't see anything, or see something, hit it with your flashlight and run, you know. But, you know, and there's the elements where a game where you're low on health and you're scared because at any moment, you know, something could jump out and attack you. It's a spooky game.
My favorite horror game is Amnesia: The Dark Descent, and I love it of so many reasons. Mainly because it's the only horror game I actually played, and because the story is phenomenal. I love the story. If you play the game, take time to read all the little notes and just really get into the story, because I think it's amazing. Even in games like that aren't horror games, this is one of the best that I've ever really encountered. And I just think the whole thing about the monsters, how you can't fight them back, how all you can do is run and hide, I think that's amazing, because it really gets to me. It gets me really scared when playing the game, and I think that's great because I'm a person who loves getting scared, and scary movies just doesn't do that for me anymore. So if you love to be scared and if you haven't played this game, go play Amnesia: The Dark Descent, because it's a great game. I can really recommend it. Bye.
Yo, what's up? So, my favorite horror video game of all time would probably be Parasite Eve 2, I believe for the PlayStation 1. Not mistaken. I just really liked the RPG elements that it had, and it was kind of like Resident Evil combined with something cool. But yeah, if you got time, give it a shot. I think it's well worth the money.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris from the Nerf Herder, and my favorite horror game is the original Silent Hill for the PS1, because it was the first video game that ever just scared the piss out of me. I can remember vividly, walking through the halls, and there was the little ghost babies, and they're just wandering around, and that somehow that just freaked me out. I don't know, it was scary, and there was this one room where it was just filled with phones, and you're walking through and you're like, oh my god, one of these phones is gonna ring, something's gonna happen, and nothing happened, and you're just about to walk out the door, and you grab the door and the stupid phone rings, and you're like, oh my god, don't answer it. That and the nurses just sitting there, just I sometimes I couldn't even go through with it, you know, to get down the hall. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to walk past them because I was just too scared. That is why Silent Hill is my #1 horror game of all time.
The first half of Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth.
She's following me. I can feel her.
After that, it's just a mediocre shooter. The first half, though, they build the pacing up really well. Especially the Innsmouth part, the chasing, everything about that was really creepy and really well done. Better than any survival horror game I've played so far.
Hey there folks, Robert here, your geeky tipster, and when Ben and Richie invited me to voice my opinions on what my favorite horror game was, there was no discussion about it. When you're talking about horror games, you can't not mention the Resident Evil series. And if you're gonna mention Resident Evil, you can't not mention, debatably, the best game in the series, and that's Resident Evil 2. Now, what can I say about Resident Evil 2 that hasn't already been said about this magnificent game? I love this game. It's the perfect blend of epic chills, awesome thrills, and gruesome kills. With tons of different enemies chomping at the bit to make you their dinner, some eerie environments, and a very limited ammo supply, there's no wonder anyone who plays this game will be at the edge of their seat and probably chewing their nails as they cower in fear playing this game. The game is the perfect blend of action and horror, and surprisingly, after all these years on the PlayStation 1, the graphics hold up really well. The story is probably one of the best in the series, and we get some of the most memorable characters in the franchise like Ada Wong, Sherry Birkin, Leon S. Kennedy, and even Claire Redfield, characters who are still regularly revisited in the franchise today. All in all, I think Resident Evil is the perfect blend of intense action, cheap scares, and awesome storytelling. And so if you're looking for an awesome horror game on the PlayStation 1, look no further than Resident Evil 2. You won't regret it, I guarantee it.
So according to the people in this video, it seems like the original PlayStation is the scariest console of all time. So why don't you go ahead, leave us a comment, and let us know what your favorite horror game is. And thanks for watching, make sure you subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.